Hello, I'm Keith from MMT, part of the Meddings group, and today we're going to look at replacing a return spring for the Quill on a Compact 13. As you can see, the Quill there is in the lower position and there's no tension there at all because that's loose at the moment. So what we need to actually do, first of all, is to just prise the cover off. There's a little screwdriver slot in the cover, and prise that off. And then you can see the spring. To actually remove the spring box, there's a grub screw underneath, and if you get a 3mm Allen key, you can undo the grub screw and remove the spring box. You see the grub screw actually screws onto that relief in there, so you need to back it off enough to be able to pull the spring box out. Okay, if we need to replace a return spring, if it's broken for example, what we can do now is take that over to the bench to fit a new return spring and then refit back onto the drill. Right, now what we need to do, having got this off the machine, is to remove the old spring and put a new one in. So we put that in the vise using soft jaws so we don't damage it. And do it up reasonably tightly. Also for safety, just make sure we've got safety glasses on, as it is a spring. And what we need to remove the old one, noting the direction it's mounted in, the spring goes around clockwise. So that little tang needs to go in the hole with it going around that way. First of all, we need to prise the old one out. We can do this with a screwdriver, but just holding a rag over it just in case it does decide to fly at you. And as you can see, the little lug there that goes into the aluminium, that's the sort of last bit that wants to come out. It's in there quite snug. When refitting the spring, you notice the old one, when it comes out, it's all uncoiled. The new one is coiled up with a metal ring around it. So we need to make sure the spring goes in and then remove the metal ring. So what we can do, where the little lug is in the housing of the spring box, to make sure that lug locates into there. And what we can do is, once it is in, is just give it a little tap with a pin punch, and it's home. When removing the steel ring from the outside, I normally use some sort of tool like that. You can use screwdrivers as well, equally as effective, but again I'll make sure the rag's on the spring just so it doesn't come out and catch me at all. And if you can pull that metal ring up like that, you can then remove that, and there's your spring and spring box ready to install back on the machine. Before we fit the spring box and spring back on the machine, we can just put a little bit of grease on there just to help lubricate the spring. And also on the centre lug, so it has a bit of lubrication when it goes into the activating gear shaft. But it's really just try and pack some in so it squeezes down between the spring. And then when it's back on the machine, the spring box cover will keep that all hidden as well. What we'll do now, we can take that back over to the drill and refit that. When replacing the spring box with the new spring, you see the little tang on the spring has got to line up with the slot in the end of the activating gear shaft. So you might just need to just move the inside of the spring around a bit till it goes on there, and just make sure everything's home. can retension the spring, turning that anti-clockwise. We can then do the grub screw up underneath with a 3mm Allen key. And there's the spring tension. So that's about the right speed there. And then you can put the cover back on and it's ready to use.